division is who?
I go with the Chargers, and I really like what they've done in the offseason, starting with Mike McDaniel. I think they're going to run the ball more. They retooled the offensive line, and then defensively, they went out and they drafted Akeem Messidor, who I think is going to be a really good pass rusher, even though he's a little bit older. So I like what Denver's doing. I just think, at the end of the day, Justin Herbert's talent should be the difference between him and Bo Nix in terms of what I think the Chargers could do and win the division this year.
And if Omari and Hampton can stay healthy, he's like getting a bonus pick back from a year ago. Who do you think is the best team in this division?
I'm going to go with the Chargers as well. You talk about year 3 of the hardball experience is usually when teams take everything over. I think it leaves a little bit to be desired as far as the wide receiver spot. But if Justin Herbert's going to be the superstar that we think he is, I think this is the year where he has to take over. Still concerned with Bo Nix and his injury. Jalen Waddle is a tremendous pickup for them to give him another weapon, but I would probably go with the Chargers right now.
Ooh, I
am loving this division because I have such strong opinions about every single one of those teams. There's sometimes I just like I'm like, I don't know. We'll wait and see. And I still feel like I'm wait and seeing about in terms of who's actually better this side. I don't get too hung up on that. And people always try to force my hand and be like, who do you think is going to be the best team? Who do you think is going to win? And I'm like, you have to decide. And I'm like, I always say I don't have to do anything. I don't have to decide anything. Like this is not the foundation of this channel. This is not, for me to be like, who I really think is the best, come here. Like I'm here for the conversations. But, I know making this video about the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers, people are just, the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers triggers people in a way that's so fascinating. There was definitely pushback about the Broncos when they were on their way up when they got to the AFC Championship game, but something really triggered specifically Kansas City Chiefs fans. And that's why I even went to Chiefs fans. I'm like, do you guys all hate the Chargers more? Is that the team that you hate the most in your division? They're like, no, it's definitely the Denver Broncos. And that's probably more because of the history and everything. But it still seems like the more modern and maybe more of the newer fans, maybe not more of the older fans. There's an extra hatred for Justin Herbert and the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers that it's just so juicy. It's too good, man. It's too good. It's too good. It's too good. Before I go any further, San Diego Los Angeles Chargers fans, please do not forget to subscribe and watch the full-length video. When you guys do that, views go through the roof. Subscribers go through the roof. And it's not about chasing views. It's not about chase subscribers. It's about being able to create Chargers content that people genuinely want to watch and discuss so we can keep having the most unbiased, grounded, honest discussions about the Chargers. It just goes such a long way as you can see. And so please do consider doing that. I'd greatly appreciate it. But yeah, I read comment, because I make a ton of Chargers content, and so I was reading comments recently and someone just said and I was tempted to make a whole video about it, or even reply, but it's something that I've replied to 1,000,000 times and I feel bad. I obviously can't reply to every single comment, but someone pretty much said I'll read the comment because it literally just happened. He said, Super Bowl champion Mike McDaniel coming to the Chargers. Exclamation point. And then someone else replied, by the wa. Why, Herbert is on his 5th OC and 2nd head coach in his career. When do the excuses run out for Herbert? And this is that is one of those comments where I'm just like, I don't got the strength right now. I don't sometimes I can get in it in the comments section and just go off. Sometimes a comment makes me be like, I'm about to make a video about this. And sometimes I'm just like I can't I don't have the strength to just go through it all right now. I wish I was more organized where I could just have all my takes kind of organized in a way that makes it a little bit more easier for me to access them. But it seems like every time, even if I'm having the same conversation, it's like I have to re-access the take itself. But first and foremost, the original comment, Super Bowl champion Mike McDaniel coming to the Chargers, and he's obviously being sarcastic, trying to make fun of him. This is a huge Baker Mayfield fan. Okay, he's a huge Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. So, it's like, good luck with that, buddy. Good luck with that. You still believe in Baker Mayfield, but okay, sure. Whatever you say. And now on to the next comment, which was, someone else replying, the 5th OC and 2nd head coach in his career. He's had bad coaching and he's had rough teams. Like, the fact of the matter is, like, this is what I find, and this is why it's so hard for me to sometimes just automatically reply to a comment like this. And I appreciate the comment because that obviously still led to me talking about it here. But like the fact that, like, we look at last season for instance, and we look at it through the lens of like, he came up short, Justin Herbert came up short. How are we running out of excuses rather than seeing last season as a major success? That's what's so frustrating, that last season for Justin Herbert he actually he should have been an MVP. Like, he should have been a legitimate bona fide MVP candidate. You could make the argument, and I'm pretty fast and loose with MVP conversations. Sometimes I have MVP conversations based on who I think is actually going to win. Sometimes I think it's just like, let me show you why I think this person should, like, it kind of changes. Sometimes I try to predict how I think the media is going to vote, right? So I make all different versions, and that's why I don't get hung up on the MVP conversation itself. I care more about what are some interesting discussions we can have, and then I try to figure out who do you actually think is the MVP, and I always struggle with that because I think it can go to so many different people for so many different reasons, honestly, and I could totally change my opinion right now. I really could in real time, but I think at the end of the day, Justin Herbert showed that he was the MVP last season, considering what he dealt with, considering had he had to overcome, considering how bad that O-line was, how inconsistent that run game was. He literally got injured and had to get surgery in the middle of the season and still went out there and competed and did everything he could. The MVP is not who puts up the best numbers, who has the most touchdowns, who has the most passing yards. Like we say Matthew Stafford is the MVP, and it's like he had an elite O-line, elite receivers, elite run game, elite he had elite. And it's always funny because when it's a quarterback that people don't like Brock Purdy, they're like, well, it was the Avengers. The Avengers. I got news for you, that Los Angeles Rams team had bigger Avengers than what Brock Purdy was dealing with. And yet we throw away Brock Purdy, yet we elevate a Stafford. And then here we have Justin Herbert, and it's like Justin Herbert doesn't have any of that. And yet he's still able to keep this team afloat. He's still able to keep this team competitive, get into the playoffs, but he loses because, again, there's only so much for him to be able to do. And yet, we're like, well, what's the excuse? And it's like sometimes just getting across the finish line is the accomplishment. Sometimes that's just the way it is. And we've lost the ability to recognize that and to acknowledge. I had a similar take about Joel Embiid and the Sixers beating the Celtics. And I praise that and celebrate that, and I said no idea if they're going to be able to continue to win or not. But this is the accomplishment. This is the crowning achievement, having someone like Joel Embiid have to have an organ removed, come back faster than anyone has ever done, and put this team on his back and get them past the Boston Celtics. When they were down, 3-1 or whatever, it was yes, you would love for someone like Joel Embiid to be able to win it all and win, and that's not everyone's story, not everyone has that opportunity, and so just for him to be able to overcome all the injuries, all the issues, and to be able to have that is that's awesome, and that's okay, and so the fact of the matter is, that the fact that Justin Herbert has been able to even remotely stay afloat through the course of his career with the Chargers and the revolving door of coaches and coordinators and weapons, and that it's that is the accomplishment. That is remarkable, that is him showing his worth. He simply has not had the team and the coaching staff to show that he can also lead this team to a Super Bowl. He hasn't had that. He has not had that. Patrick Mahomes' season last year is essentially what Justin Herbert has been dealing for his entire career. That's what people don't seem to understand. And it's so perfect that last year they both had issues with the O-line, with the health, with the health of Vario. Us weapons, run game, whatever it may be. But apparently both firing their coordinators. Both had solid defenses. Both had great defenses. Justin Herbert won. Justin Herbert not only won head-to-head, but then also got to the playoffs in a way that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs did not. And if Patrick Mahomes had this team that he had last year with all the same issues and he had that throughout the course of his career, would you say like, what are the we're running out of excuses? No. You'd be like, this team is not good enough. And you know that because you've actually seen him be able to have a great team before the bad years came. Justin Herbert's has it's been so staggered. And this is what always continues to just become so misleading and so ridiculous because even in years past like not this past year but the year before that etc. It's like he loses to the Chiefs and they'll be like can't beat the Chiefs and it's like well he was missing his number one receiver. He was missing this, he was missing that. But yet when Justin Herbert beats Patrick Mahomes, they're like, what do you want him to do? Xavier Worthy got injured and Rashid Rice wasn't there. And it's just like, what? And so some quarterbacks are not able to truly show their potential truly. We've seen actually glimpses of it obviously with like cartoonish level of numbers and what he's been able to do with like a season with like Shane Steichen etc. And we've seen what he's been able to do with his level of resiliency in terms of the team is a mess, the coaching is a mess, the O-line is a mess, etc., etc. But we're yet to really be able to see him when he has the roster all put together connected with a great coach. Someone was like, this O-line is still going to be a mess. And it's like, how is it maybe going to be as perfect or as dominant as you would want it to be? I don't know. But to think that it's still going to be just as a mess when you have two absolute stud guys on the line who are going to be healthy and back, it's going to be the same. How does that even make sense? It doesn't make any type of sense. The coaching is going to be better. The coordinating, the play calling, the run game. Like not only are you going to be able to take less off of Justin Herbert's plate, you're also going to make big plays easier, more easily accessible for Justin Herbert as well as just have better strategic play calling in meaningful moments. I mean, I understand because I'll say like look what Mike McDaniel was able to do with say Tua and it's like I understand no Tyreek Hill, etc. But it's never just about that. It's never just about that. When you have the right coach that puts the right players in the right positions at the right time and you have a quarterback that can execute that offense, you're going to have tremendous success. You're going to have tremendous success. And that's exactly what Justin Herbert will finally have for him this season. And the one thing that really stands out to me was years ago when Michael McDaniel was on his way out to be the coach of the Miami Dolphins, Colin Cowherd interviewed Debo and it was like during the Super Bowl week, I guess that's usually when they interview all those guys. And he couldn't be any more positive about Mike. Was just like, that's my guy. This, that, oh my gosh. Oh my god, man. Mike McDaniel, Mike McDaniel, Mike McDaniel, Mike McDaniel. And then we saw Mike McDaniel turn two and that offense into something, anything. And it's just like, yeah, he couldn't win a Super Bowl with Tua and Tyreek being Tyreek and Miami Dolphins being the Miami Dolphins and that. Okay. Yeah, he couldn't win a Super Bowl there. Oh, no. I know. It's the tragedy. No, just him making that team even remotely competent was the accomplishment. Just even showing what Tua was able to do 4,000 plus yard like Tua was an MVP kind of etc. It's like that's what Mike McDaniel can do when you did give him a Tyreek Hill and a quarterback of two was level. He had better stats than what he was with Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek's best season was technically with Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel. So, it's just like now we're going to downplay Mike McDaniel as well because he didn't win a Super Bowl. Like, do you know how dumb that is? Do you know how absurd that is? And this will be the same person who will downplay Jalen Hurts winning the Super Bowl, though. If Jalen Hurts got sent to the charge, let's say Justin Herbert is like, I'm out of here. And he moves. And then Jalen Hurts is like, okay, I'm a free agent. I'm going to go sign with the Chargers. And I said, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be awesome with the Chargers. He wouldn't say, well, yeah, he would. That's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Yeah, that's great that the Chargers have that now. That's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think the Chargers are going to be better. He wouldn't say that. He wouldn't say that at all because he doesn't give credit for Jalen Hurts for winning the Super Bowl. So, it's like, so if we're not going to give credit to the people that actually win the Super Bowl, then what's the point? So, like anything, these conversations end up being so circular. So circular. And I just know unless they don't do it now because I'm saying they're going to be like, oh, I've heard this before. Every year the Chargers are winning the division until it's time to win the division. It's the same thing again and again and again. And I know the Broncos fans are going to be upset. Chiefs fans are going to be everyone's always upset. Everyone's always upset. And that's why I find myself not trying to pick any teams this early on because I want to be able to continue to have the conversations about all the teams and leave the door wide open to see let's see what happens. And I rather watch games before I start to try to figure out who's actually going to be the best. But don't get that twisted with now opening the door to downplay what a team can be. I find this to be pretty true that a lot of and this is like an individual team. This isn't specific to the Chargers but it's like if I make Broncos videos like they want me to downplay the Chargers, the Chiefs and the Raiders. If I make a Chargers video, they want me to downplay the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Broncos, right? And that remains to be true with all the teams out there, all the divisions out there. And I find that those conversations largely lead nowhere productive. I think it's so much more helpful to look and see what the other team has going for them. If you're a Chargers fan, you could easily be, oh, Boex, he's not that good. Blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I think you don't then have an accurate representation of what you're seeing. It's better to find the value and the productivity and the positivity. And I don't mean like positive like you got to be positive. I just mean like the positive things that another team has going for them. It gives you a clearer understanding of, what you have to face and technically the best case scenario of what you have to face and what you have to go up against. So that's kind of how I look at it largely. Obviously it'll depend on the situation, but yeah, it is funny though. I'd say the motor. And the modern AFC West right now, the Kansas City Chiefs fans they maybe have some PTSD from the old days of the Broncos, but something about the Chargers and Justin Herbert irks them. I'm curious for the Chargers, what's your team that you hate the most? Like what do you feel the biggest rival is? Because it does change based on I think eras as well as fans. There's definitely some fans that are like they're Eagles fans and they hate the Giants more than ever and there's plenty and I feel like the vast majority absolutely hate the Cowboys and yet like years prior the Commanders used to run that division and the big rivalry was the Eagles and the Commanders. So it's just like or before they were the Commanders. So it's just like it is always kind of morphing a little bit. And obviously like the Chiefs have been, the most recent, running that division and running the AFC as a whole. So, I can understand why like most recently if you're going to, not like the Chiefs. But I am curious to see like right now immediately, what's the team that the Chargers fan base has the most issue with? Because to me, the Chiefs are towards the Chargers. Like that's the way how it lands to me. But I think the media as a whole has more of an issue with the Broncos, which I've made videos about as well. So, again, the dynamic that can I talk? The dynamic is always really interesting, and it's always floating. It's always kind of changing and changing year to year a little bit. So, curious where you guys all land. But, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get some discussions. Let's get it some fights, but ultimately let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.